Do you know what happens when you say the word ghost? If you're like me, you probably think of scary movies and haunted houses, but ghosts aren't always bad. Take, for example, the ghost train. That is exactly what happened to the Sodder family in West Virginia. So get ready because today we are going back to West Virginia to talk about the mysterious death of the Sodder family and why everyone believes that their ghost train is still out there. But first, I need you to smash that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more awesome episodes. Also, stick around for No. 3 because that's the story that I've been looking forward to telling you guys all week. The year was 1945 and World War II had been over for just a few months. People were ready to move on from the war and start fresh. That was the feeling that many felt throughout the country. And most wanted nothing more than to forget about everything that had happened. But unfortunately, the world wasn't quite ready to let go of the past just yet. And for the Sodder family, this would soon become horrifyingly clear. George and Jenny Sodder were married and raised their kids in a 2-story house on the edge of town. There were 10 children in all, 9 boys and a girl. They lived in a small house, but it was filled with life and love. And while it might not have been much to look at for the Sodders, it was everything they needed. Life wasn't easy for them, but they didn't mind. Their biggest concern was simply making sure their children were taken care of. And for the most part, they did a good job of doing that. By December of that year, 4 of their older sons had left home to work in the mines. Most of their money went toward food and heating oil, which they needed to keep warm during the winter. They had put the other 5 children to bed early on Christmas Eve, and now they were just enjoying a cup of tea and the quiet time they rarely got. Everything was fine until the roof suddenly started shaking. They heard what sounded like stones falling, followed by the slow creaking of the floorboards. But when they looked outside, they couldn't see anything. This was odd, but they decided to ignore it and try to go back to normal. After all, there was nothing wrong. Or was there? Seconds later, they smelled something odd, like damp wood and burning paper. When they went to check, they realized that the corner of their home was on fire. George called out to the kids, but they were fast asleep. He raced to their bedrooms and shook them awake. He managed to grab 4 of them, but there was no time to get the others. He tried to go back, but the staircase was already ablaze. He then tried to get into the attic, but his ladder was gone. In a panic, he ran outside to his truck, but it wouldn't start. Neither would his other vehicle. With both trucks unable to move, he broke off a plank of wood from the railing, climbed onto his roof, and shouted into the night. His voice echoed across the darkness as he begged for help. Within a few minutes, they were joined by the local fire department, but it was too late. The fire was too big. Within 45 minutes, the entire home was gone. All 5 of their missing children were gone, too. After the firefighters left, George and Jenny noticed something strange. Nothing had been burned. Even in the most intense fires, there are always human remains, but here, there was nothing. As far as anyone can tell, not a single bone, tooth, or fragment of the 5 children who had supposedly died in the blaze had ever been found. In the days following the fire, there were more bizarre occurrences. For example, a witness came forward to say that he saw a man stealing a block and tackle from the Sodder property on the night of the fire. The block and tackle were used to raise and lower heavy objects. Another person said they saw lights on in the house after the fire had started, and another said they saw a car parked on the road during the blaze, with people inside watching the house burn. And finally, the most important clue of all, the phone line had been cut. Just minutes before the fire, a mysterious call came in asking for someone the Sodders didn't know. Jenny told the caller they had the wrong number. Later, it was discovered the phone line had been deliberately cut not by the fire, but by someone climbing a nearby telephone pole. As time passed and more details emerged, theories began to take shape. What if George Sodder's political views had made him enemies? George Sodder was known for his strong political views. He was a vocal critic of Benito Mussolini and the Italian fascist regime, and he had been an outspoken opponent of the war. Many believed that his political beliefs were to blame. Perhaps the fire was an act of retaliation by Mussolini supporters, or maybe even the mafia. Others thought it was a cover-up for a kidnapping. Could the 5 children have been taken by strangers? Had their bodies been disposed of somewhere else? In the years that followed the fire, Jenny refused to give up. She began conducting her own experiments, burning animal bones in her oven to see if fire could truly destroy them completely. Every time, the bones remained. She knew in her heart her children had not died in that fire. This convinced her that the fire was somehow involved in their disappearance. Then came the strange events that surrounded the tragedy. Years later, on January 25th, 1967, a woman reported seeing a boy who resembled one of the missing Sodders at a hotel in Charleston. She said the boy was in the company of several men and women who seemed to be his guardians. Although the police tracked down the boy, further investigation revealed that he was not one of the Sodders. Over the years, similar sightings kept occurring, but none of them panned out. In 1969, George died, believing that his children were alive somewhere. Despite the sadness, the family refused to give up. In fact, they grew more determined than ever to find the truth behind the fire. And in 1970, things took an unexpected turn. Out of the blue, they received an envelope in the mail. It had no return address. Inside was a photo of a young man in his 20s. He had a striking resemblance to Louis Sodder, who had been only 9 years old when the fire occurred. On the back of the photo was a strange message. Louis Sodder, I love brother Frankie. Illa boys, a 90132 or 35. Nobody knew what the message meant, but it gave the family hope that the children were still out there somewhere. Desperate for answers, they hired a private investigator to track down the mysterious man in the photograph. But after handing over the photo, the man vanished, never to be heard from again. The case of the Sodder children went on for decades. Finally, in 1986, the Sodder family reached out to the public once again. They placed a large billboard beside a busy highway, displaying the photos of their missing children and pleading for information. The billboard remained for nearly 40 years, becoming a landmark that drew attention from thousands of travelers each year. But despite all the attention, the case was never solved. Jenny died in 1989, just shy of her 80th birthday. Throughout her life, she never lost hope that her children were alive somewhere. And right up until her death, she continued to search for answers. Sadly, the mystery of what happened to the Sodder children has never been solved. And today, no one really knows what happened that night so long ago. There are many theories, but the truth remains buried under layers of speculation, silence, and time. Did a deadly fire claim the lives of 5 innocent children, or were they kidnapped that night in December? Did a mysterious conspiracy seek to cover up the truth, or was it a terrible accident followed by years of misinterpretation? The case of the Sodder children remains one of the most haunting, unsolved mysteries in American history. A fire may have destroyed their home, but it also lit a spark that has never truly gone out. And somewhere, buried in that long December night, may still lie the answer waiting to be uncovered. And now for No. 3. What do you think happened to the Sodder children? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to come back next time for another spine-chilling episode. Until then, rest in peace.